Hey everybody, how's it going? And happy daylight savings, happy November, happy Samhain time. This is the pagan holiday that Halloween comes from and is really the time of Scorpio when the veils between the living and the dead are the thinnest. It's getting cold and, kind of we're entering the darkest time of the year in the northern hemisphere and the lightest time of the year in the southern hemisphere. And Sun is mid-Scorpio. We're having the first quarter moon in Aquarius, and Mercury has begun his retrograde through Scorpio, as Venus has just moved into Sagittarius, and Mars is squaring Pluto. And the energy right now is really so much about this deep scorpionic reflection of Mercury retrograde through Scorpio. This is the year of like retrograde Mercury through the water signs. And with the North Node in Cancer, and right, this year's been very emotionally driven, and a lot of stuff around with, we had the Saturn on the South Node and Pluto, and we've got, Mars squaring Pluto now. So there's been a Plutonian energy. There's been an energy of needing to kind of get your stuff together. What are you standing for? What are you being the authority of in your life? And how are you giving your power away to external authorities? And how do you come back to your intuitive emotional center? And all of these themes this year. And now with Mercury going retrograde through Scorpio, and the Sun in Scorpio, and they're going to meet up again. I wanted to begin to offer a different kind of coaching than I've ever offered before, and this is incorporating skill sets that I've had in different areas of my life, but I've never really brought officially through. I've kind of alluded to it, but I've never really brought it through my astrology practice or my coaching practice, and that is coaching around sex and desire and intimacy. And really, human sexuality is so important to our life force energy. Like, it is our life force energy, our creativity, our sexuality. It's all second chakra stuff, right? And that's Cancer. It's our womb, our second chakra, the G spot, the prostate, this seat of the intuition of the primal body, primal consciousness, those low chakras where the Kundalini is coiled. And, we live in a culture, Scorpio has so much to do with power and intimacy and surrender, and this veil, these thresholds between what needing to work with something outside of yourself. It's interdependent life. It's the opposite of Taurus, which is like self-sufficient. My resources, my capacity is just all about kind of self-development. And Scorpio is really this like relational development. And it's like Mars in Libra, relational square Pluto. So I feel like, anytime there's a lot of stuff in Scorpio or in strong aspects to Pluto, especially if it's Mars, this is like desire nature, and this is like our soul. Pluto's the soul. Mars is actually the lower octave of Pluto, meaning that we know we have a soul because we have desire. And so, and Scorpio season anyway is always full of these, kind of surges of our life force, surges of our sexuality. And at Samhain time, it's like the veils between the living and the dead are so thin that it's like we can be really communing with the ancestors more intensely at this time. They're kind of coming through. A lot of different cultures believe that about the kind of darker, colder months and these different times. The pagans certainly believed this. And many white people, watching this, with the white people with, the privilege to watch this, or descendants of, pagans, long before there was Christianity, there was paganism, there was earth-based spiritual practice, there was a connection to, our bodies and the plants and, the natural world so much more before the age of Pisces, which put Virgo in the natural world and stuff in the shadows. So that's something that I've always been very personally connected to in my life and in my spiritual practice, as a yogi, as someone who likes to live in the woods a lot of the time, who obviously, like, my whole brand is like these tree talks and stuff, right? So what the trees know, what the plants know, what our less rational minds, more intuitive minds know, which is not grid-like, and it's not, boxy and hyper-rational like how we are socialized in our little square desks and little square rooms and the fluorescent lighting. And it's just like there's a different way of thinking and feeling and intuiting, and this is so much of what Mercury retrograde time is always about. It's always about this more right brain, listening to the intuition, like noticing the perceptions that come up and really going with them, instead of following the rational mind. Not that we need to be completely irrational and completely irresponsible and reckless. Really just the invitation during Mercury retrograde is to is to listen in deep, by, sign, house, and aspect house for your particular chart. But for all of us, it's Scorpio. Scorpio, Scorpio, Scorpio. It's so much deep, dark intensity. It's so much, hidden power. It's so much about intimacy and what you need, like that we need things outside ourselves. We have needs that we can't meet alone. There's things that happen in a togetherness, whether it's, literally you need a sperm and an egg to make a human life, whether it's procreation or just intimacy, that like there's a certain point when you can work as hard as you want and, doing all the things that you need to do for you, but then at some point you need another person. It could be business, right? Like there's some things that you need to delegate to other people. You can't get a creative project going without money from someone else. You can't, start a business without a loan. You can't, there's all these external forces and they're out of our control. We have no control over them, which is why people can be shut down and scared and closed off, when it comes to Scorpio type themes, like the little scorpion, like that lower octave of Scorpio, which is just kind of armored and crawling super, super, super low so as not to be seen and as not to be, in the way that, Scorpio energy can really hang back and kind of calculate and just see what's going on. It's like, is it safe here? And it's this intuitive perception, but it's ruled by Mars and Pluto. So Scorpio is deep, it's complex, it's a fixed water sign. That can mean a glacier, it can mean ice, cold, frozen. I will not let you see into me because you might try to kill me. Like this fear, which comes from what? Trauma, right? And so circling back around to the kind of coaching that I want to offer, sex and desire and intimacy coaching. I've been influenced by sexological body workers. I've done tantric massage work for years. I have done a lot of, my own sexuality practice for years. And I feel like I really, like it's come up with clients that I've had already. But what I'm wanting to do is offer that kind of a focus at this time. I feel like as I've started this coaching practice, what I've really been doing is kind of gauging and feeling, with the stars, because it's never going to, be taken away from me, what is going on and what are the themes coming up right now that we need to work through. And there's a lot right now around sex and desire and intimacy. And I still offer coaching around any kinds of, trauma healing and resolution. And hello, they're so interwoven, right? Because how many of us grew up with hippie, sex positive parents who just like let us touch ourselves and feel ourselves and understand our own bodies and understand our own pleasure. How many of us, we've all grown up in a culture of sexual shame to some extent, just because of the mere fact that if you're able to listen to what I'm saying, you have been socialized in a sex-phobic culture to some degree, right? And so there's such a stigma. It's so internalized. It's so ingrained. And it's like, then we've got, porn, and we've got strippers and escorts and sex work, and this real need that's still in the taboos to kind of help people access that, and yet sometimes that is so not as sacred as maybe we would like it to be, and as it would feel good if it were more sacred, right? So how do we bring spirit into matter? How do we free ourselves of this sociocultural conditioning and shame around sexuality, around what is sexuality? It's our literal life force energy. Sexuality doesn't need to be something that you go and have sex with another person. It can be about self-pleasure. It can be about, I'm radically alive and embodied and moving with my Kundalini energy, my serpentine energy, my connection to my wildness. It's really something that I stand for and that has been really important to me in my life as an artist and as a creative person and as an astrologer. The kind of astrology that I practice, with shamanism and plant medicine. Even without shamanism and plant medicine, I always was a bit of a wild person, and I've needed to go different places to allow myself to rewild and kind of undomesticate myself. So that is my offering to you guys. Anyone who feels like, wow, I just really want to find and locate and love and integrate with my sexuality, because it's been so suppressed. My wildness has been suppressed. My connection to my animal nature, right? This is Mars, the animal nature, and also has to do with Scorpio. We're civilized beings, and we are purposeful beings, and we're also wild. It's kind of, and I really believe that a lot of illness in the body, a lot of disease, a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety comes from this. I don't know how to just take the lid off, and I'm scared. That's usually, there's all this fear of like, what's going to happen when I undomesticate myself? What's going to happen when I take the lid off of that compartment? Because how many of us went to church and were told that sex outside the context of heterosexual wedlock was bad, and you have to sit with your legs and your hips in this 90-degree angle, and your like hips never get stretched out, and you're always like, it's this cultural context around suppression of wild energy. And I talk about this all the time. I'm such a Lilith channel, love Lilith. She's my homegirl. She's kind of moving into Aries and back into Pisces, true Lilith. Whereas mean Lilith is still in Pisces, but I'm working with the true more. And over the last few months, she's been dipping into Aries and then back. And so making these conjunctions with Chiron. We've got this Chiron in Aries, right? So like, the nodes are going to be squaring Chiron in the few months. Chiron and Aries, the need to heal our desire, the need to heal our relationship to what we want, to what turns us on, to what makes us want to get up and go and just do something. Too much Libra without any Aries is you're just spineless and you have no spark of life that makes you unique inside yourself. And so this is such a beautiful time to be looking into like, why? Scorpio wants to know why. Why am I so sexually suppressed? Why am I so cut off from my desire? Why do I have intimacy issues? Why? And of course, as a completion process practitioner, I'm going to want to be holding space for you to go into suppressed desires, shame. These are vibrations that not a lot of people know how to hold space for. And with all the Scorpio in my chart, a little Scorpion, I really am passionate about holding deep, dark space for people. I bring a lot of light into the darkness. Space for you to access your deep darkness. Mercury's in retrograde, I don't know how this word salad is going for you guys, but hopefully you're picking up what I'm putting down. But I've been wanting to offer this for a few weeks, and it's like I kind of needed this, Samhain time to really click into myself. The juice and the full throttle like intensity and the passion about this is kind of bubbled up to the surface finally, but it's been an idea for a few weeks now. So if this is something that resonates with you, if you've been blocked in this way, if you've been suppressed in this way, or if it's just time to do some deep inner work, Scorpio can also just be about working through trauma or suppression or shame about anything. It doesn't always have to be sexuality. I find though that sexuality is so much more important than we're taught, and it's so much more important to be connected to, and that what happens when we're overly domesticated and cut off and we don't go back and rewire those things and restring those things, it really it crops up in all these different interesting ways, and that you might not think, oh, I'm depressed because I'm kind of dead inside. I'm not turned on, right? It's like, what's the opposite of being turned on? It's just like kind of lackluster. I don't know where my inspiration is. I don't know where my passion is. I don't know where my life force is. Where's my oomph? Where's my juice? Where's my like wild animal inside me? Because we all have one. We're all wild beings. We all have, and Scorpio is like human shadow, right? We all have the capacity to be violent. A lot of people don't like to talk about that or get into that. Certainly Libra vibes don't like to go there. And I really believe that, what I've learned in trauma healing as well is when you just honor that I'm a horny animal, or I could fucking kill that person, out of self-protection, or, and it's like, why is this anger inside me? Why am I at war? Why am I so unable to acknowledge that is a part of who I am? Why is there not a safe space? Why is there not a a container for me to explore those parts of myself and feel safe and feel like I'm not going to be shamed or exiled from the village or, told by society that I'm crazy or told that I'm too much or all this stuff, right? So this is stuff that we all, it's collective baggage, guys. It's ancestral. So as Mars comes to square Pluto and Capricorn, yes, we're dealing with ancestral baggage and karma around our desire, around how we relate sexually, relationally, physically, intimately, socially. What is our social justice? What is social justice protocol kind of on a more macrocosmic level? So this is all stuff that's coming up right now, and I just wanted to give a very warm and direct invitation for those of you who want to do this kind of work to get in touch with me. Send me an email, tell me a bit about yourself. I know a lot of you love astrology because that's what I originally was doing here, and I'm still part of what I'm doing here. But send me an email, tell me about you, tell me about your chart, tell me what your blocks are, tell me what you're working on, tell me what your dreams are, tell me, what you want to accomplish. I'm really interested in this synergistic coaching relationship, and I am also, just so you know, I just started doing astrology readings again. It's a 3-part process. So it's going to be like a grounding meditation that I send you. I just made the last video about this. It's going to be an hour conversation, and then it's going to be a half-hour follow-up conversation a few days later. So 3-part deal, asking you to get really intentional with yourself about why you want astrology wisdom. I'm really interested in working with people who want to do the work in a deeper way. Not just talk about it, but like really do it. So that's what I'm doing here, guys. And again, blessed Samhain to you from the bottom of my heart and my soul. I hope that this finds you inspired and turned on and asking hard questions. This is going to be a lot of asking ourselves these hard questions with Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. And if you want support around that, I'm here holding space. So have a beautiful rest of your weekend and have a beautiful next week. And get some extra sleep and stuff, and get real and get into it. Peace out. See you next time.